today we're going to do something fun. I got something in the mail. Now, you've already seen something very similar to this. However, this one is improved. I think I mentioned to you guys that I was going to install an electric flap system. Well, the one that originally comes from the Glasair factory actually uses something called a linear actuator. This is very similar to the one that I showed you guys before, except the difference is this one has a built-in potentiometer. And essentially what that means is when this actuates to different positions, the potentiometer will give different voltage output readings. And what we can do is we have a flaps controller actually laying around here somewhere. And what that's going to do is essentially anytime this actuates, it'll tell that flaps controller what position it is in, and that will allow us to set different positions. So what I'm actually going to do today is I'll show you guys. Let there be light. So I'm not sure if you can quite see, but here is the system that right now is used to actuate the flaps. Essentially this little bar here, the black one that you see right here, this runs along to actually actuate the flaps. So when I move this lever, you will actually see the flaps here move. If I show you. And what we're gonna do is, before removing this handle, we're gonna make markings with a Sharpie on the different flap positions. And I'm actually gonna remove this handle. And the linear actuator is gonna actually have to sit right here, which is a problem because there's two hydraulic lines here. So these hydraulic lines are gonna come out. I'm actually gonna redo this line or move it or bend it in some way to get it out of the way. And yeah, we'll go from there, but at least I can remove these. I might be able to see what we can do to actually mount the two together. Yeah, we'll get started. The first thing we're going to do is just mark a couple of flaps positions. So specifically, we're going to mark just a bunch of markings. The first of which, this is, I believe, flaps fully down. This is flaps less down. This is flaps more down, and then all the way down, i.e. all the way up. We can start all the way up. We'll just make a marking with a green Sharpie. Although I sort of don't want to mess this up, but let's... Here's our flap positions. Here's the flap positions on the other side. Now we can safely remove this handle, get it out of the way, and we can look to see what we're going to do with our linear actuator here. Anyways, this entire thing is coming out, so I'm not going to need any of that crap. So let's get this off here. We need to undo these bolts. Actually, are these riveted into place? Or nope, there is stuff on the other side for this. We want to get this out of the way because likely this is going to interfere with the bracket that we're going to have. So these two have to come out. Something we can do before that, though. Let's try to undo this thing down here. It's sort of hard to see, hard to get at. We'll try. Now we gotta take this off. Pretty easy. got this out. Wonderful. I'll grab that and grab these washers. So we might reuse this to put our thing in. Now we're gonna remove this tab that comes on the other side here. This one right here. Almost got all those out. Sword, almost. I'm gonna get this one out too. Yep. There's a slight problem with that one. That is the fact that it's running into a hydraulic line. I might need to take out the hydraulic line to get this out of the way enough to move it. That's a pretty big wrench like that. So we'll go ahead and grab one. I don't know if this one fits. Okay, so finally got it out, but my body needs a break from being in weird positions. So what we're gonna do is, I haven't really told you guys much about it, but I've been meaning to install an autopilot in this. Now there's may or may not be an access panel that has, autopilot stuff. So I'm gonna take a look and we're gonna see if it does indeed have autopilot stuff or not. We'll take a quick look at this access panel. Will tell me pretty quickly if it was set up to accept an autopilot. Maybe the builder did it, maybe they didn't. But we'll definitely find out, that's for sure. Slide on under here, grab our drill, and get to drilling. I believe this is where the pitot tube went on the other side. But in theory, this side should be, yep, perfect. Look at that. So we can mount our autopilot here. The only problem is, that means I gotta run quite a bit of CAN bus, which is a little bit expensive, but if it means I can have the autopilot properly installed where it's supposed to be, that'd be great. Let's take a look in here. Show you guys what it sort of looks like. Okay, check this out. I'll show you guys stuff even I can't see. Just rotate the gimbal around. And this is the thing that controls the aileron here. So if I move the aileron back and forth, you can see, if I move the aileron back and forth, you can see this moves forward and back. So yeah, perfect. It's good to know. So I'll show you guys. Originally I was thinking of putting the actuator here because this is where I've seen some installations do it, but there's really not that much space. And there's a problem that when these flaps are at full deflection, there's not enough really space to do anything there. So what I think I can do instead is I can make use of this little piece here, connect it to the actuator here, and then as the actuator goes back and forth, it'll act like a travel arm and allow me to put this here. So this will be able to go here. I'm going to take this bracket out. That'll give me a little bit more space, and then I can look at maybe putting this in the center here and moving some of the wires over, as long as it's not running into the rotor lines or any of the other lines. But since we're taking this out, it should make it a little bit easier. So we'll just take that out. Like, wow, it's out. If only it didn't, take me a bunch of suffering to get it out. That would have been great. Anyways, now looks like this can finally sit where it needs to sit without being in the way of stuff. So yeah, this is going to pretty much just actuate. Yeah, we might need to take a bushing out of this to make it the right size to fit here, because this bushing is perfect for connecting to the flap rod down there, but we want it to actually also connect to this thing, but we don't want it to be too small, otherwise it'll wiggle around in here. So let's just check that out real quick. I've also gone ahead and done is I reamed out these holes a little bit, because it came with a pin by default, but I'm actually going to use an AN4 12A bolt instead, just so we have something that's a little bit more secure. And yeah, we're just going to use that instead and use this as the pivot point, which is going to go right into here, and this is by which it's going to pivot. And yeah, so yeah, it almost looks like to me, if I took this bushing out, it would be the perfect size. So let's just give that a shot. All right, we got it out. Now let's see if our bolt fits through. Grab an AN4 12A. There's almost no wiggle room there. Well, a little bit. I might be able to pick a bigger bolt, but I decided, after all, I'm going to keep this bushing in here. I just reamed it so it is a more perfect, snug fit, because I said I didn't really care about, I don't like that play. So, did I put my bolt? Here it is. So now this fits in there much more snugly, and there's way less wiggle. In fact, there's almost no wiggle at all, which is way more ideal for hooking up everything. So yeah, let's go ahead and get this on where it needs to be again, and then we can hook this up to the end of what we need. Something that is a possibility is we might need to trim this short and re-drill another hole. If the lever is weird, we would only have to do that specifically if this was too long, such that the movement of the entire actuator was too much for the space that we have. But I could also do some other stuff, but I might just do that. But we'll see how it goes. I'm going to install it and look at it. We're not going to be able to power it today, just because I don't feel like charging the battery. But yeah, we'll do that another day, give it a test, and hook it up to the flaps actuator. But yeah. So I got this bolt on here. Probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. It was so hard to thread this little thing through. This little hole here gave me a little bit of space, but almost none. It was really, really hard. Probably took me way too long. But now we're going to tighten it down to its final torque spec, and then we can take a look at maybe what it's going to look like connecting this. Here it is. So I torqued down to the final spec what that bracket's going to be, and I also preliminarily put this into place. It's just some AN4 bolts. So essentially, this will fit pretty nicely. I might have to move the wiring harness ever so slightly out of the way and probably put something here to prevent these wires from rubbing. But it's pretty good. So how this works is pretty simple. Essentially, as this pushes up, this will actually pivot on this pivot point here, and it'll just extend it just like the flap handle used to do, except the only difference is now it's an electric actuator. And here's the wiring for it. This will get wired up to a flaps controller, which is going to be on the panel there, and we'll just control the flaps that way. We'll have settings for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and whatever we decide to do. And all I have left to do, and I'm not going to do that today because it's a little bit, it's too much work for right now. But these are going to be riveted, probably with some sort of nut plate, into place, so we can have this secured properly. But yeah, looks good. And I think that's it for today. I did a lot. My knees are absolutely killing me. And we're going to pick it up another day. Cheers.